What if I told you that for centuries, doctors believed that illnesses were caused by tiny, invisible worms in your blood? Welcome to the bizarre world of historical medicine. Let's rewind to the 17th century, a time when microscopes were brand new and science was just starting to peek into the human body. Enter Antonie van Leeuwenhoek, a Dutch scientist who became the first person to see bacteria and what he called animalcules swimming in his own mouth. This discovery was mind-blowing, but it also sparked some wild ideas about disease. Around this time, many believed that diseases were caused by miasma, bad air, or these tiny creatures invading your body. But before germ theory was fully accepted, doctors tried all sorts of strange treatments. One popular approach was bloodletting, cutting open a vein to let out bad blood. People thought this would balance the body's humors and cure everything from fevers to headaches. Sometimes they even used leeches to suck the blood, which sounds creepy but was surprisingly common. In fact, leeches were so popular that in the 19th century, millions were used annually in Europe alone. Bloodletting was a practice inherited from ancient Greek medicine, particularly from Hippocrates and Galen, who believed health depended on the balance of four humors: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. If one was out of balance, illness followed. It wasn't until much later that this idea was debunked. In other parts of the world, healing practices were deeply connected to spirituality. For example, in ancient Egypt, priests acted as healers, using a mix of spells, prayers, and herbal remedies to treat patients. They believed that illnesses were caused by evil spirits or God's punishments, so healing was as much about the mind and soul as the body. Their medical papyri included surprisingly detailed descriptions of diseases and treatments, some of which were quite effective, like using honey as an antibacterial agent. Meanwhile, in traditional Chinese medicine, doctors focused on restoring balance between yin and yang and the flow of qi, or life energy. They used acupuncture, herbal medicine, and massage to bring harmony back to the body. This holistic approach considered the body, mind, and environment as interconnected, and many of its principles are still practiced today. The Chinese medical texts, such as the Huangdi Neijing, date back thousands of years and laid the foundation for this enduring system. In medieval Europe, things got even more bizarre with the use of powdered mummy, yes, actual ground-up mummies, believed to have healing powers. People thought ancient Egyptian remains could cure everything from epilepsy to stomach aches. This practice, known as mumia, was so widespread that it created a demand that even led to the importation and unauthorized excavation of mummies. Now, imagine a world where doctors also used something called theriac, a concoction with dozens of ingredients, including snake meat and opium, believed to be a universal antidote. It was like the medieval version of a miracle drug, used for centuries, despite questionable effectiveness. Theriac was originally developed in ancient Greece and was considered a cure-all against poisons and plagues. Its recipe evolved over time, becoming increasingly complex, sometimes containing up to 64 ingredients. Despite its dubious efficacy, it remained a staple in European medicine well into the 18th century. All these practices might seem strange or even gross today, but they laid the groundwork for modern medicine. They show how humans have always been desperate to understand disease and find a cure, often blending observation with imagination. The transition from mystical explanations to scientific inquiry was gradual and often resisted. It wasn't until the 19th century that scientific breakthroughs, such as Louis Pasteur's work on germs and Joseph Lister's promotion of antiseptic surgery, began to transform medicine into a more evidence-based field. So next time you visit a doctor, remember that just a few hundred years ago, medicine was a mix of magic, mystery, and some surprisingly creative ideas. Here's a fun question to leave you with. Did you know that the placebo effect, a patient's belief in treatment, was likely at work in many ancient healing rituals? Sometimes believing you will get better is half the battle. This powerful mind-body connection continues to be a subject of intense study today, reminding us that healing is not just about medicines, but also about hope, trust, and the human spirit.